Hi, I am Amy Nielsen from Peace, Balance, and Joy Consulting, and this is the first of what we're hoping to be a year of Wednesday broadcasts addressing lots of different skills and tools and things that come up in counseling all the time, like different things that we share with people that like kind of in those first stages of therapy and things. We do a whole lot of skills and tools, and I wanted a way to share those with more people in hopes that more people can benefit from some of these starting pieces, because I have found that through my life they help me just in general through everyday practice, and so I hope they help you in everyday practice. So today's topic, we are going to be talking about what's called the window of tolerance. um, this is this is a tool that I find completely invaluable. It helps me recognize when I'm functioning, when I'm not functioning, and how to establish where and how that functioning is going. And the way I like to describe this concept of the window of tolerance is most of us are familiar with driving. I mean, if you're above 16, maybe if you're not above 16, but most of us above 16 are familiar with driving. And in your car, you have this thing called RPMs, right? You might see this on the dash of your car there. It tells you how fast the engine's kind of spinning. And when you start pressing on the gas, you can hear your car getting louder and faster. It's working harder, right? So this our window of tolerance, if you think about sitting in your car, you're driving along. For the RPMs, your window of tolerance is going to be that point of optimal functioning for your car, where it's running, it's doing what it needs to do, it's not working excessively hard, and it's not chugging along. Okay, right there in that middle zone. But we have this ability, right, with our cars. Let's say we start heading up a hill, right? So now the car is under more pressure. And even though you may not be pushing on the gas harder, it's probably starting to either become sluggish, or if you have an automatic or whatever, it starts kind of ramping those RPMs up in order to maintain your speed. Okay. And we have these very specific systems of our bodies to help us do that gear shifting. Okay, our brain picks up on the pressures and stressors all throughout the day. If we're not under a lot of pressure, then it just kind of runs us in that optimal mid-range zone, right? Our motor's running, we're taking care of the things we need to, we can think clearly, we can navigate our life, and we're just kind of on that like smooth cruise control. But we get under pressure, like the car climbing the hill, and we start ramping up. Okay, and that ramping up is kind of easy for us to find if we take time to begin to observe that. It comes very easily if we start observing what our heart rate is. If you know, it's like even just walking up a set of stairs, your heart rate starts coming up and it can start to pound. Just even observing that tension and stress, we're gonna get into that just a little further here in a minute. But when we start getting under pressure, our body has to gear up, like move the shifter up in order to handle the pressure, just like your car. We want to watch for when that gearing up starts moving into the red zone. Okay. If any of you had the opportunity of driving a standard, they're almost like they're so hard to find these days, a standard where you had to actually gear shift. I grew up driving a standard. I loved it. I loved shifting my car. I had to learn how to do it though, and in order to get it all in that window of the tolerance of the car. But as you learn it, you find that you get that feel of how to shift your car to where it's like running smooth. If the gear is too low, right, the RPMs kind of fly up there. And if the gear is too high, then it's like chugging along. Anyway, so this process of our body, this system of our body to help us navigate stress, it starts like get in those gear shifts so that your body is gearing into a space where you can handle the pressure, to where you can move quicker. Your nervous system is going to start firing. You've got chemistry flowing through your body that literally is making your muscles tighter, striving to make your focus more acute on whatever the task is that's in front of you. And and many other like factors in our body. You might find that when you're getting under stress, we start to get a little bit of dry mouth. Okay. All of these systems, all of this stuff is chemical reactions and shifting in your body to help you maneuver that stress more effectively. Ultimately, it's that we're identifying some sort of risk or danger, or like I've used the word pressure, that we need to get taken care of. That we've identified a task or something to get taken care of. Sometimes these are simple things like walking up the stairs. But usually it's like, we've got trying to get dinner on the table, we're answering the phone, kiddo spills something over on the side, dog's running through, and we're navigating all of these things. So we're having to shift up to handle all these things. Maybe we hear a crash in the other room. That's really going to ramp us up. And so then our RPMs start pushing over there towards the red. So I'm going to show you a little diagram here of the window of tolerance. So this helps you kind of see what I'm looking at. So here in this green zone in the middle, that's our window of tolerance. So all those things going on is starting to stack us. They're like stacking on each other and they're pushing us up there. And the body's looking at it going, oh, I need more energy for this. Let's push some more in there. Oh, I need more energy for this. Let's push some more in there. So it's pushing more of that chemistry. And these are our stress chemicals, our adrenaline and our cortisol. Those are pushing out into our body. Our adrenals and things are pumping those out into our body. That's why our heart rate goes up, is it's got to move all that around. So our heart rate's up. Those things are flooding through the body. Our muscles are getting tight. We've got that tension and we're trying to move quickly to assess and manage and take care of the stress. Okay. So that means we're maneuvering up in that window of tolerance. And if you look at this diagram right here, that starts putting us up towards that hyperarousal state. Now, usually in most days, right, we have things stack up and things going on that are going to move us up and gear shift us up. But usually, that waves off. We get dinner done. We find out that the crash is no big deal. Nobody's crying and screaming. So we gear shift back down. And so we'll go throughout a day just kind of waving through that window of tolerance, sometimes lower, sometimes higher. If you go out for a drive and it's a rough day for drivers and you're having, some close calls or struggling drivers, that's going to bump up there, but usually once we get through that, we get where we're going, we're walking around, it comes back down. Sometimes we face situations though that maybe we're back out there driving and we have like a close call, a near miss, and that shoots us up right into that hyperarousal really quickly. These systems of your body are designed to keep you alive. Okay, this is stemming from the midbrain in here, and your midbrain's job is to keep your body alive. And it is constantly navigating and looking for danger. So if it sees danger in any way, risk, okay, it is going to ramp your body so fast. And you've probably experienced this when you've had situations maybe that you're already tight and poised before you can even totally recognize or wrap your head around what the stressor was in that moment, whether it was like a car suddenly coming from the side. We get tight so quickly, poised to take care of ourselves and those around us. So that is the hyperarousal system. And so as we're ebbing and flowing through the day, let's say we're doing the drive, here we have a near miss, wham, up goes that system saying, hey, I've got to protect you. We have all of that surge of adrenaline, cortisol that run through the body. We're in that hyperarousal state. That state's not a horrible thing in a moment like that, because it's going to help you veer your car, hit the brakes, take care of that immediate need thing that happens so quickly. It takes care of all that. And so it's helpful in a moment like that, right? And if anybody's experienced that, we go through that moment, we come out of it, we sigh, like, man, oh, that was awful, and we might cuss or swear or something like that for a minute, but, we start breathing it off and like, man, boy, that was close, whoa. All right, and that is our bodies now starting to gear shift back down. Okay, again, we might have bumped up there, and usually if it's a short, simple thing, we kind of tuck back down. But something to recognize here is if we're parts of nature like anybody else is a part of nature, so anything that goes up is going to come back down. But it doesn't come back down usually right at the same point that it started. We tend to dip. And that's where this hyperarousal place comes in. If we have had an event or something that ramps us way up into that hyperarousal state, our body is flooded, it's tense, it's got all of that flowing, and it's really up there. When it comes back down, it's going to come down low, and that's where our body it's got to recover. We just burned a ton of energy off. We just burned a ton of calories. Our energy was really flying. We only have like so much energy in a moment. If it gets all burned off right here in this minute, then it's going to drop down low in order to have a recovery. So in that recovery place, we can move into hypoarousal. We hope we don't move down into hypoarousal. If we just have a normal event, like random near miss in your vehicle or something, you come down in the lower end of your window of tolerances where we hope to land. But if we had a big event, we're going to watch our body come down into hypoarousal. Okay. Now, thus far, I've kind of been trying to use examples of like quick and sudden things. I use those to try to help us really connect to these systems, because most of us can usually think about the moment where it's like, whew, that thing hit me just right. And then after the fact, we kind of get that exhaustion or, whew, that's hard. Oftentimes, for a lot of us, we'll get weepy. Okay. I watched this when my boys used to wrestle. And they only did this for a short time in their lives. But I remember watching at the school and all of these little boys wrestling, and they're out there on the mats and they're pushing themselves, and they're putting everything in it. So they're getting ramped up into that state. Then they get, the match is over, and on either direction, the person that got pinned or the person that was pushing, both parties were just pushing everything into that and addressing that. But then when it's over, I used to watch young boys come off those mats just crying. They were just sobbing. And it wasn't about losing. Even the winners could come off sobbing sometimes, but it was just that release. The body going, oh my goodness, that was huge. And it just releases, and it releases from our eyes. Some of the most quickest ways to get all that junk out of our body is through our eyes. And so crying in that is helpful. But that's just an example. Like when we get pushed like that, that's a common reason why we weep after that, is it's our body's way of releasing that chemistry that's built up in there. The chemistry is not helpful to have in there, so we want to get it out as much as we can. It's helpful in the moment, but we don't want it sitting there, and we're going to talk about that here in just a little bit. So coming to situations that maybe being held over a long period. This obviously comes up when trauma has happened. It also comes up with high stress jobs, jobs or life situations where we're under a lot of pressure, changes, transitions, living outside our means. So it kind of creates debt and pressure. And so then we're pushing ourselves, and we've got more anxiety and more fear going on. So any of these kinds of lifestyles, which is really honestly common lifestyles that we have in our culture, can create what I call kind of a drip line of these systems a drip line of the adrenaline and cortisol. We almost become, not even almost, I think we become dependent on those even to keep us moving and going. And so in this kind of situation, then it literally is kind of like we have a drip line of those chemistry going. And so we have kind of that constant tension and constant tightness that we can observe. Our heart rate's kind of slightly elevated, or maybe even sometimes highly elevated. And so what that looks like on this chart here is in that upper zone of the green, and maybe even like there's kind of this gap between red and green, and I would call that a faux window, where we appear like we're kind of still within our window, but our body is still very much, the nervous system is geared up and protecting itself, protecting the body. And so the tightness and the tension is constantly going. And we can only maintain that for so long. And so if we're in this lifestyle that's there, or like I mentioned, trauma this is a traumatic response for the body as well. When the body has been through trauma, when we have been through a traumatic event, our body will move into this state and hold that position until it's resolved the trauma that has happened. And we'll talk more about kind of the what's and whys that is here in just a second. But when that's going on, remember, it's drip lining out. It can only go so far. And so then we'll watch ourselves be in that hyper arousal or that really upper state of the window of tolerance, but just right there kind of on that line, and then move into hypo arousal, recovery here. We might come back out right up into hyper arousal, and we might come right back down into hypo arousal. And so sometimes I'll get people in my office that has become their lifestyle. They're in the extremes of up and down and up and down and up and down. And it's exhausting. It's exhausting their bodies. It's shredding the health of their bodies as they're doing this. So we want to try to avoid moving into a pattern of that extreme up and down. And that's partly why we're talking about this today, is so we can become really aware of how these systems work. And so we can on purpose, coming back to our gear shifting and our RPMs, we can on purpose shift, we can observe, we have moved up into that red zone of the RPMs, or we can observe that, our car is sluggish, it's running on fumes, we're checked out here. We can observe either direction and bring ourselves back in here in this green zone right here. So that is our goal here. There is so much more we can learn about the window of tolerance and how these things work. I don't particularly want to go into all of the extensive details of that today because I really want to have time to focus on specific skills and tools about it. So if you do have any more questions on exactly kind of what these systems are and how they navigate, please go ahead and post them in the chat and we'll try to get them answered here at the end or even throughout the conversation here. But key pieces I want to make sure that we understand about this specific information here is that in the window of tolerance, that is where we have our most optimal functioning. The key aspects of window of tolerance is that both the logic areas of our brain, our skill sets, our tools, our morals, our values, our beliefs, all the things we've learned in our life, that part of our brain is communicating fully and in full capacity with our midbrain, which is the survival mechanism and the part of our brain that runs our entire body. So in essence, it is our full brain talking openly with our body, and the two are navigating information smoothly so that when we're engaging in a life event, we have our full capacity to engage the event, navigate it, problem solve if there's problems to solve. We're present and available. We can connect to other people. We can engage in senses of empathy. And this is attachment takes place here. This is where our best relationships take place, is in here. If we're starting to live a lifestyle or we've gone through an event that has put us up into that hyper arousal or hypo arousal, we don't have full capacity to access those skill sets and our morals and our values. We move into behaviors and struggles that we can literally watch ourselves make choices that we don't want to make, but the survival part of our brain says, I need to do this right now because right now I'm struggling. So I'm going to do this thing. The example that comes to my mind most readily for people that most of us can relate with is food and our health. I strive to live a healthy lifestyle. I know a lot of people want to live a healthy lifestyle. We're at the new year. So many of us set healthy lifestyle goals. And so you say, okay, I want to eat healthy. I want to drink healthy. I want to exercise and take care of my body. And then here comes the pressure. The pressure comes on. We're starting to move up into that hyper arousal state and the survival mechanism kicks in. So here comes the survival mechanism and it says, yeah, but that donut looks really good and it tastes really good in my mouth. And I know it gives me a little quick boost of energy and gives me a sense of soothing right now. And I'm struggling right now. So I'm going to go ahead and eat that. And the more mindful we become about this process, the more awareness we have it, we can start catching ourselves and go, oh, okay, I want that donut because I must be up here in this upper realm. I'm closer to hyper arousal. Okay. And there's even other factors that drive that as well. Our bodies want to eat when we're stressed. A lot of people stress eat, but when we get actually fully into hyperarousal, we often lose our appetite because our digestive system shuts down when we're in the hyperarousal state. So as you're gearing up, your digestive system's actually gearing down because you don't need digestion to keep you alive if you're running from a bear or something. You need your limbs and your muscles and your awareness to get you moving quick or to tighten up to protect. So we will start to stress eat in these upper zones, uh, unmindfully aware that our body's trying to, like, hey, come back down here, and that's one way that we do that is with food. When we talk about the techniques and skills, we're going to talk about some healthier ways to gear that down so we don't go to stress eating to do that. So that key point in the window of tolerance, full capacity of functioning. Hyperarousal, the piece is there. We have narrowed down into survival, so we don't have capacity to grab hold of our morals and values and beliefs, and we go into the survival mode of the midbrain. Just get me out, take care of me, just I don't want to deal with anything. I just need to handle whatever this pain is or frustration or struggle that's in front of me. So it's agitated, it's irritated, we don't have the capacity to problem solve, and so we have more likelihood of blowing up, snapping at our kids or our spouse or our friends, because we can't access the information. So it's just we're trying to push it through, and we get frustrated even more, which doesn't help either, does it? So that's kind of what that hyperarousal state. We can't learn, engage, or problem solve in that state. It is just a survival mechanism. Down in hypoarousal, remember, that's our recovery state, or it's what's going on is burning me out. So now I'm really in shutdown. So the body drops down either in that freeze mode. Everything may feel overwhelming, so we distance, we shut away, we withdraw from things. Our nervous system might feel raw and uncomfortable. And so in that, we also withdraw. We might want to tuck away in our room. We might want to wrap up in a blanket. We just don't want to deal or cope. Or we go in kind of to a robot mode, where we're not fully taking in our surroundings, really, because what we're taking in is overwhelming us. And we just kind of are shutting that all out. Okay, so that's kind of some quick examples of what some of those three areas look like. Okay, so let's move into how to find that. How do we know where we are at in that window? All right, this is where we get really good at listening to our bodies. Your body will tell you where you're at. Now, if you're in hyperarousal, we don't have access to these skills to do this very well. So likely somebody else could tell you where you're at. They might be able to observe, hey, you're having a rough day, and that might help you. Or it might just make you mad and you'll snap at them, because if we're in hyperarousal, we don't navigate much of anything really well. So we want to try to catch it while we're still in our window of tolerance. Any emotion that we have, our emotions are designed to help us meet our needs and to communicate to us. And so if we have a need, and so this is the pressure or the situation that's in front of us. If we have a need and we're not getting it addressed, every wave that need comes through again is going to get louder and louder. So that's climbing us up into the hyperarousal state. If you think about hunger, you first observe that you're hungry, like, oh yeah, I need to go get something, but maybe I can't right now. The next time the wave comes through, it's louder. The next time the wave comes through, it's even louder. Then we might even get hangry, right? And that's a sign, we're getting it up into that upper level of our window of tolerance. Again, back on the food thing, because it's probably the easiest example to give you, is we get up in there, right? We get that hangry. And if any of you have done this, you probably have. Almost all of us have done that. We get hungry enough. We actually don't really care what we eat. We're just ready to grab something, shove it in there. And there goes all of our New Year's goals. There goes what the health that we're striving to live for and things. So that's kind of what that could look like. We want to be able to observe the tensions. We want to be able to observe Where's my head at? Where am I in clarity? Where am I at in my morals and values? We're going to be able to observe those things inside our window. If we can take moments, I often encourage people when they're learning this process, set a reminder on your phone every hour and just take a couple seconds in that when your timer goes off and just say, hey, where's my body at? What do I feel right now? Can I even feel my body? Can I feel what my head feels like, what my feet feel like? Can I feel what my fingers feel like? Start right there. Is it, can I even feel? And then now as I'm feeling, do I feel tensions? Do I feel distress? How is my breath? How is my heart rate? How's my jaw? Okay. How am I thinking? Am I able to observe and think clearly and openly? Or is my brain foggy and sluggish and cruddy? So taking a moment and just observing that, and then even just in that one step of observation, you're going to watch that you're already gear shifting back down. Okay. The system that takes our body up into hyperarousal is our sympathetic arousal system. And then we have a parasympathetic system, which brings it back down. So we want to learn how to on purpose get that gear and start shifting down so that we can have the optimal clarity in our mind. So we are going to observe the tensions, or observe our mind, observe our heart, observe our breath. Okay. Once we make that observation, no matter where it's at, you might be in a great state. You might be like, yep, I'm totally online. I'm feeling good. That's great. I still encourage you, take a breath for me. Okay. Breath is always my number one go-to the most powerful tool that you can have to navigate your body. Okay. It is connected to your heart rate. You breathe in, your heart rate speeds up a bit. You breathe out, it slows down a bit. So we want to have that nice deep breath. We breathe it in. We have a long breath out. And it slows us down. It begins to relax the muscles. Remember my example, like if we had a near miss, we ramp up really tight, but then it turns out okay. What do? Most human beings do this. Whew, we sigh. Like, man, that was close. Okay, that sigh is releasing some of that tension energy and it's lowering that heart rate. It's cueing your nervous system. It is a literal conversation to your nervous system. Hey, we're okay. We're ready to move on. So it will start gearing that system down. We can begin to relax. I encourage you to take a second right now, practice just a couple long out breaths and notice what happens to your muscles when you do that. Just take a couple breaths right here. If you notice that when I do it, I run my shoulders back because every time I do that, I observe I'm starting to crunch up a little bit. So I'll pull my shoulders back. One more breath there. Our breath is so powerful. I really encourage you to find different methods and tools to manage your breath because that is your best and most powerful gear shifter right there. It's free. It's available to everyone. So learn those tips and tools. I like a good long out breath. I'm a counter. So I will count so many breaths in. Usually if I'm really stressed or panicked, I might only be able to get 1 or 2 counts in. And then I strive for two to 3 counts out. But we want to increase that to 3 counts in, 4 counts out, 4 counts in, 5 counts out, and continuing to maneuver that until we can really get a full breath, even a 4 count in, 6 count out, 4 to 5 counts in, 8 counts out. Okay. And if you've not ever done a breathing exercise like that before, you'll find that it's something you have to build up to. We have to actually build the diaphragm, build the muscles to do that. And however, most of us actually have done exercises like that before. We just don't even realize we have. If you work out, you're having to navigate your breath. Go back to memories of when you were working out and how you navigated keeping yourself and your breath under control. You would have had to shift it. If you're doing cardio, you're doing a run, you would have probably slowed down and started navigating your breath before you could pick back up the pace again. Okay. If you love to sing, singing is probably one of the easiest, quickest ways to move into this type of breathing. You pick your favorite song, you go well at your steering wheel, and you're going to come out feeling a ton better. Laughing is another really good way to do that. Get with somebody, tell some jokes, watch a funny video. I think that's why people just really love those silly animal videos and things like that, because you just get laughing, and it's like communicating to your system, we're okay. The world is okay. We're surviving okay. Laughing is so powerful. It's got that long out breath, and then of course it starts churning those feel good chemicals. So things like that can be really helpful. Find your thing that helps you learn to breathe. Another thing, if you notice, when I did breathe, I kind of brought my shoulders up and back. When If we're looking at the body with that nervous system pumping in that arousal state, remember, we've got a lot of tension. Let's move that tension out. You can literally brush yourself off. Brushing off can feel really, really good. You can shake it off. But I love a good stretch. Get those arms up, stretch them out in front of you, stretching your neck. Find your things that where you hold your tension, and learn to really engage good stretches into those areas. They have like a trillion videos on YouTube to find really good stretches for different areas. Yoga is an excellent way to learn that as well. But even if you just have a simple minute at work and you're just wanting to bring yourself further into that window of tolerance, or really kind of the way it is, it actually expands your window of tolerance by engaging these tools. It actually makes that window bigger. You're going to get up, you're going to move around a little bit, you're going to stretch, you're going to kind of just shake it off, and a long out breath, and you have just bought yourself a bigger window of tolerance, ready to handle the next thing with work or the next thing your kiddo brings to you. Super powerful, super easy. Okay, so stretching and moving can be really helpful. I like to have people learn grounding techniques for this, especially if trauma is a factor here. When we go through trauma, and everybody goes through trauma of some sort, some bigger than others, of course, but all sorts of things that we'll face in our life can be traumatic, and our body will move into this state and it will stay there. And part of the reason it stays there is because as the brain is trying to process and navigate the traumatic event, it's replaying thoughts and images and videos in your mind's eye. And I want you to remember this. Think about when you learned how to ride a bike, or when you're driving your car when you're young. Wherever you turn and look, your bike is going to go. And really, that happens when we walk too. If you are like walking with a friend, I totally do this. I walk with a good friend, and if I turn and talk to her, I am slowly walking into her and bumping into her. We will travel wherever it is that we're looking. So if we're obviously looking at a stressful thing in front of us, our body's going to ramp up to stress. Okay. If we are replaying traumatic events, which is natural and normal as our body's trying to process a traumatic event, as we're replaying those things in our mind, our mind's eye, our survival mechanism, it doesn't differentiate what's out here versus in here. It will begin to ramp up again. And so we want to be able to catch that, observe that we're doing that, shake it off, stretch it out, take a breath, come back up into the head. Hey, we're okay. We're going to be okay. I'm going to take these images and these thoughts, and I'm going to just take them and set them aside over here. I teach people what's called a container exercise, where I have them create an actual container in their mind, whether it's a jar, a box, an envelope, a safe. I mean, people use all sorts of things, but I'll have them breathe around the images in their mind. And as they breathe out, I have them move those images to the container. And they do that as many times as they need and practice it throughout the day. And as we get good at that, like, it builds up that mind meditative muscle that we can really breathe and move them quickly, and they stay. But it's not a stuffing thing. You're not allowed to stuff things in a container, because whatever you put in your container, you still need to resolve. We're just going to set time to when we can pull them back out and continue to work on them. So we want to look at clearing your head, observing when we've got that tension. We want to be able to clear our minds. We want to clear our body of that tension. Some of the way we can also do this is what's called grounding. Okay, so you're going to make your observation, and then we're going to remember, if we're running that stuff through, we might breathe it to the container. And then I want you to think about your feet on the floor. What does your feet feel like on the floor? What does your feet feel like in your shoes? What do your socks feel like? These are not things we normally think about, but I want you to think about them. I want you to think about what those socks feel like. Do you have comfortable socks? Do you have uncomfortable socks? You might choose to change your socks if they're uncomfortable. It's probably not helping. Okay, but comfortable socks, that's really nice, right? You're going to think about, what do your clothes feel on your body? Okay. What are your hands doing? What does they feel like? Maybe you can touch something or grab something that's on your desk or that's around you in your house and just hold it in your hand. What does that feel like? Okay. All of these things that we're grounding off of, grounding meaning I am bringing my focus to some non-threatening stimulus that I am engaging my body senses to observe. Okay. So we're going to hold the thing in our hand and observe. Is it soft? Is it hard? Is it hot? Is it cold? Okay. You can do the same thing. If you don't have time that you're being able to grab something, remember, you can do your clothes. You can observe what it feels like to sit in your seat or what your feet feel like on the floor. Okay. You could look around your room and pick an item and just really observe that item. It's also can be helpful that you observe, this is the day and this is the time of this day. And here in this moment, in this day, in this time, I am okay. I'm looking around myself. I am safe. My body's okay. My family's okay. And we can repeat those things over and over, bringing our body, gear shifting it back into that window. Again, things like this are helpful if you set a reminder on your phone, and when it goes off, you go through an exercise. These are way better to learn outside of crisis than in. So if that's why you do a reminder, even if you need it or not, you just go ahead and do the practice, because remember, you're expanding that window. Every time you do this, you expand that window a little bit more. You're going to have more capacity to navigate what you have going on in your life. So doing that quick mindful check-in, expand that window and buy yourself more emotional reservoir and more space to navigate your day. So grounding is super quick, easy. It's almost like the breath, quick, easy, free, doesn't cost anything to do it. And it's right there available all the time. Okay. Water is really powerful for people. Water is powerful for me. When we move up into hyperarousal, remember I have mentioned that our mouth will go dry, our digestive system's turning off. Drinking some water can start helping gear that system a little bit back on. It wets your mouth. We want to get the mouth salivating. Okay, salivation is your first line of digestion. So we want to get the mouth salivating. It's literally, again, it's another direct cue to your nervous system. Hey, I'm okay. We're doing okay. We're going to take in some water. Eventually, we're going to take in food once our system's back on. Remember, we're going to work on not stress eating. We're going to sip water and we're going to ground before we put any food into our body, because now you know that when your system has been slightly shut down, so you don't want to put food into a shut down system. That's where we get indigestion and all of the stomach issues that come when we're under chronic stress. Let yourself gear that system down first, drinking a little bit of water, getting your mouth salivating and moving through that. Water itself can be very grounding as well. Sometimes we just need to run our hands through some water or listen to water. Turn your shower on and just listen to it. Listen to the rain. Turn on some rain sounds on your phone. These things can be really grounding and powerful to our body. Our body, so much of it's water, and we flow, our emotions flow like water. Most people can recognize it. You go to the beach, we love the beach, we love the sound of the ocean and the waves. There's so much that our body connects with the motion and flow of water, so it can be very, very grounding. Obviously, taking a bath, while you're in the bath, really observe the water. Mess with it with your hands. Notice how it flows around your hands. Notice how it feels on your body. These are all non-threatening stimuli, and it's a way to really gear your nervous system back down. Aromatherapy can be really powerful. Anything that engages your senses is really, really helpful. Again, oftentimes we stress eat. Ooh, it smells good. We're shoving it in our mouth. It's giving this faux sense of security and soothing. But we can do aromatherapy without food. Okay, we can, if you've got oils, if you have specific scents of things that you like, a perfume, outside, fresh air, what do we smell? Okay, really engage it. And again, this is not expensive stuff. This is, you can go out anytime and just breathe in and see what you actually observe in the air. And obviously, then you're breathing, right? And that aids us. We know the breath is so powerful. But then your mind, again, is linking to non-threatening stimuli. and your body is getting all the oxygen and things it needs through the breathing practice there. So aromatherapy can be very helpful. Safe aromas, remember, then our body's connecting to the sensation of safety, and that will also help gear that system down. Okay, positive imagery. We talked about having your brain turning negative thoughts, negative imagery and stuff from trauma. Maybe it was a hard conversation with a boss or kid, and we roll that through our head. We call that rumination. So we're going to roll that stuff through our head. We want to change what's going on in the head. And so on purpose, putting positive imagery in front of us. Okay, this would be a healthy distraction. So this is not binge watching Netflix or flipping through hours of Facebook. This is on purpose putting something that is peaceful in front of you. Maybe it's just a color. Maybe it's pictures of your kids, positive memories, going through scrapbooks. Okay, maybe it's pictures of ancestors and the stories that come around them that are uplifting to you. Maybe it's just looking out your window and enjoying a blue sky. We actually had a little blue sky today. We had gray for like a couple of weeks, and it was so good to see some blue sky today. So I just sat in my car for a minute during lunch and was like, oh, thank you, blue sky. I needed you today. And looking at the blue is an uplifting color for our eyes. Green is an uplifting color for our eyes. It can help us have a sense of well-being. And so get outside, look around, take in some of those natural, beautiful colors, but get that positive energy into your eyes so that your mind isn't wrapping on the things that are causing the pressure. Again, remember, we're trying to increase that window. We're trying to release our nervous system. So put positive imagery in there. It's not that we're going to stay there. We're not going to lock into these places. It's increasing your window. Then you're going to come back to the challenge that you're facing, work on it some more, come back over here, bring your body back down, relax, open that window back up. Then you can come back and problem solve. Remember, I told you on the container, we don't get to stuff it in there. We're going to just put it in for a moment or a day if necessary, or a weekend or during the work shift. And then when we have that space of time that we set for ourselves, we're going to get it back out. Okay, so positive imagery can be very powerful. If you're really struggling, if you've had major events going on, and a lot of our people around us right now have had some really hard things happening, I really encourage you to get some pictures or things on your phone. And when you find yourself struggling, bring those pictures up in front of you. Look at those positive memories, ground to the positive memories, observe the colors of the picture. Take your brain back to the moment where you were having that positive situation. It will shift your body. Remember, your body is going to go wherever it is you're looking. Look for things that are safe on purpose to gear your system back down into that window. I'm not going to go into these next ones very far at all. I just want to mention very powerfully for these systems is yoga. Anybody who teaches yoga can tell you it has a very powerful reset process for the nervous system. There is a lot of free videos on YouTube. There's lots of wonderful, amazing yoga teachers in almost every community. In our community, we have some fantastic ones. So yoga can be really, really powerful. And if you're going through and have been going through a traumatic event or a lot of stress, I really recommend you engage a yoga practice. It is so powerful to gear your system and really clear your head and open your body to and really settle that nervous system down. Massage is very powerful for this as well. And we've got great massage therapists around here as well. And I hope you can find a fantastic massage therapist because, man, they can really help you reset your system. And you can talk to them about this. Most of them are really trained and aware of these systems of your body, and they can help guide you to some stretches or some movements and things to help you also keep gearing that system down. Acupuncture is also another very effective way to gear shift your body down. If you're really, really struggling, it's an awesome thing to be able to kind of go to an acupuncturist. They just, it's almost like magic to me whenever I've gone there, and we've got a great lady here that does it, but I'll go in and I'll fall asleep on the table because, boy, she does just the thing that she does. I can't even describe it. That's why I'm not going into it. It's not my science, but boy, my system will gear down quite a bit. And I know she's described it a little bit to me before, but it is really phenomenal. So if you're having a long period of stress or you've been through trauma and and need to really work that system and get your window expanded again, acupuncture is a fantastic way. I hope this was helpful for you. I know we kind of spun through things fairly quickly. We're going to keep doing these videos every single Wednesday, talking about our body, our mind, emotions, all the things that I really do believe help us navigate a higher level of joy in our life. So our business is PB&J, that's Peace, Balance, and Joy Consulting. Our focus here is helping you navigate alignment in your life, because when we have that balance, that alignment, we have joy, we have that optimal functioning, we connect in our relationships better, and we really enjoy our lives more. Again, I hope this helped you a lot, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Thank you very much. If you have questions, we'll watch the chat for a while and respond to any questions you might have.